I'll go off his own words. Ramon, I sent you a video.
Oh, yeah.
Should we pull it up and give our reaction to it, or?
Yeah, let's pull it up. We'll preface this talk with this, folks. Here we go.
One thing that always struck me about Rush Limbaugh, and I think he, in some ways, to his success, was that he meant it. When he said it, he meant it.
Nigga with an A on the end. Well, I think I can now. Isn't that the point? Because it's not racist. That's the point. I could be talking about a male. I could be a Chinese male. A guy at the laundromat.
He defended the traditions of this country, and he spoke for tens of millions of us.
How many of you guys, in your own experience with women, have learned that no means yes if you know how to spot it? They didn't have time. They only had time to put Biden's name on these fake ballots and then feed them into the system. Dominion tabulators, and that they did, they fed an equal number of votes for both Trump and Biden, was spat out of the machine as a 26% lead for Biden. Meanwhile, Al Sharpton goes out the front door.
Yes, I spoke a little Negro dialect there. I can do that when I want to.
In and out the front door.
A very decent and nice person, by the way. I'm sure others have said that, but it's true.
What does it say about the college co-ed Susan Fluke, who goes before a congressional committee and essentially says that she must be paid to have sex? What does that make her? It makes her a slut, right? Makes her a prostitute. She wants to be paid to have sex. If we're going to have to pay for this, then we want something in return, Ms. Fluke, and that would be the videos of all this sex posted online so we can see.
The thing that I think defines him the most, he loved this country. He was a patriot.
The coronavirus has been weaponized by the media and by opponents of Donald Trump as the latest weapon they might be able to use to get rid of him. Hospitals are not being overrun like you're being told. They call it sexual objectification, demeaning, not taking women seriously, but it's just the way of the world. Boys chase girls. But a tiny minority of these protesters, and undoubtedly including some Antifa Democrat-sponsored instigators, did decide to go to the Capitol to protest.
This is an absolute gut punch to conservatives in America, to Republicans in America.
You're a foreigner. Shut your mouth or get out. And if you come here illegally, you're going to jail.
Feminism was established so as to allow unattractive women easier access to the mainstream of society. It doesn't look like Michelle Obama follows her own dietary advice. I'm trying to say that our First Lady does not project the image of women that you might see on the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. There are plenty of lard-ass women in politics, and they get a total pass on it.
But if you boiled it down, he cut through a lot of noise and went to an issue beyond the back and forth that we cover every day.
Here you have a black president trying to destroy a white policeman.
Oh.
So yeah, as I said, Rush Limbaugh died, and I think a bigger thing to look at is kind of his legacy, not so much, what he's. I mean, we'll talk about what he said and done throughout his career in media, but his legacy is Donald Trump. His legacy is, fragile conservative white men who talk about where this country is going if soy boy Democrats come in. That little shtick that has been run every night on a Tucker Carlson and a Sean Hannity, that is birthed off of a person like Rush Limbaugh. Now, we could be here all day listening to things that he said that are destructive, but I think a far greater thing to look at is, why was he tolerated? What was it in reaction to that he resonated with so many people? Was it the economics at the time? Because he really came to prominence in the early 90s?
90s, yeah.
The early 90s in reaction to I guess in his words, was the liberal media, the Clinton era. I mean, they were the first person or the first group that he kind of, focused in on and really hated on. And I'd argue that the anti-Clinton rhetoric that you've heard throughout was again, those seeds were sown from Rush Limbaugh.
And I mean, they certainly earned some of it on their own. I mean, because like the Clintons, like you were saying, like when he came to prominence at the same time, the Clintons were sort of the physical manifestation of the marrying of the Democratic Party with like the professional managerial class. Like that was the first, with Bill Clinton with triangulation, welfare reform.
Right.
That was the course that he put the Democratic Party on, putting that corporate face on it, like out in the open for the first time.
Yep.
And that gave Limbaugh a perfect launching point and a target.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I agree. Like, focusing in on the horrifying things that he said, sure, we could do that. I'm sure everyone who's listening to this has seen plenty of it. And, I think for me, it's more the general concepts around his death. Like, what is important? Like, first of all, like what I was saying in the beginning, everybody can have their take on it. Don't speak ill of the dead, whatever.
Was he ever alive, or he's always a ghoul?
I mean, yeah, he's a fucking monster, and and hey, I'll go by that. I'll reciprocate this, upon myself. Hey, if you didn't agree with me politically, if this ends up taking off and I'm a fucking political figure, I don't care. I die. Go ahead. First off, I'm dead.
Right.
Okay. So I don't need anyone to like stick up for me like after I'm dead. And this whole game that we play whenever some horrifying fucking monster on the right dies, and then like people rightfully dunk on them. And it won't even be people on the right. It'll be just like centrist Democrat people like, you probably shouldn't. Blah, blah, blah. No, fuck that guy. Yeah. Okay? Fuck that guy. Observe what he did in his life. We can agree that some people were just objectively bad. Right. We don't even have to agree. If that's my understanding of it, what am I gonna sit here and like couch my language around this person who would probably, would spit on you in real life anyway? This man was a fucking monster.
Yeah.
Okay? So just scratch all the civility and everything. But the other overarching theme here that I think is important to discuss is like, just like how I call it, like, Mitch McConnell's like the Michael Jordan of Congress. This guy was, I said it the other day, he was the fucking Ho Chi Minh of the Republican Party. You want to talk about propaganda. Yeah. I mean, this man, to give him the props, just like I give McConnell, his level of understanding how far he needed to go across the lines that were drawn, and while simultaneously marrying that with whatever the current line of the Republican Party was masterful. Mm-hmm. And that was a big part of why he, was invulnerable during all of the, monstrous things he said, was because he had the backing of, insane GOP donors where he couldn't be taken off the air. You know what I mean? He couldn't be taken off the air. He couldn't be shamed into stopping his rampage, and in that sense, he was a unique figure in just American media in general, because there is no counterpart to compare him to in that regard. He was super unique in that regard. But like you said, it's so obvious when you look at the timeline of it. I don't want to say he captured the Republican Party, because obviously
it's unfair to the Republican Party.